Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, the hazards map on Friday morning from the National Weather Service is relatively quiet across the United States. We've got some greens and grays across the Corn Belt. That would be a dense fog advisory across portions of eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, and far northwest Illinois. Now we've got some flood advisories, flood warnings, flood statements across portions of the Ozarks into northern Illinois and across southern Michigan. So take a look at the temperature map right now. We can see kind of a temperature gradient here, cooling north to south, but a couple details that we can kind of point out here, one of which is an outflow boundary from our morning storms here. We can kind of see overall this warmer air mass, but maybe a little boundary right there where we've got the 60s behind that, kind of cooler, gloomy air mass, and then already in the upper 60s to near 70 as you head off south of that boundary. If I go ahead and just quickly pivot on over to the satellite picture, you can see that extensive line of thunderstorms from southern Michigan across Indiana, Illinois, down into southern Missouri, across Oklahoma and Kansas. Just an extensive kind of broken line of storms along this frontal boundary. And we'll flip it over, we'll look at the radar, and there you see it. It's produced quite a bit of severe weather earlier in the evening, yesterday evening, across portions of Iowa, Missouri, back into Kansas. And this line has just continued on through the overnight, now beginning to weaken as it moves across portions of southern Illinois into Indiana and then across southern Missouri and into Oklahoma and Arkansas. As we head through the rest of the day and into tomorrow and Sunday, we will see the continuance of the development of showers and storms across the Corn Belt. It will continue to be an active weekend before we transition to a quieter week. So there is good news at the end of this video, but right now we do have to talk about where the next rounds of showers and storms will be. As we head through the day today, again, watching this big area of showers and storms begin to move off to the south and weaken as we head into, this will be noon, getting into 3 o'clock. You can still see maybe some of that continuing across Oklahoma and Arkansas. And then we've got storms continuing to exit Ohio. We're going to be looking at the chance for some severe weather across the northeast as we head into the afternoon and evening today. And that would include portions of eastern Ohio. We'll talk about that here in a moment. And then as we head into the overnight, let's get it to 9 o'clock on Friday night, heading into midnight. And then let's take it all the way to sunrise tomorrow. As we wake up tomorrow, maybe some decaying thunderstorms across the Ohio River Valley, across portions of southern Illinois, Indiana, getting into Kentucky. We'll also be watching for another storm system to eject across the high plains. This is going to be continuing to, or will be developing some showers and storms across portions of the Dakotas, primarily South Dakota into northern Nebraska as we wake up on Saturday morning. As we head into Saturday afternoon then, this will be noon on Saturday. We've got two systems that we're watching. We've got one across the south, we've got this other one across the northern high plains, and that's going to lead to a lot of precipitation as we head through Saturday night into Sunday across the region here. Let's go ahead and take the drawings off and continue to head into Saturday afternoon. We'll be watching for scattered showers and storms to develop across portions of Missouri and Illinois, into Kentucky and Tennessee. These will be scattered in nature Saturday afternoon and evening. More widespread rain and maybe a few embedded rumbles of thunder across South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa as we head into Saturday evening. Let's take it into Saturday night. This will be midnight on Saturday night, Sunday morning. You're seeing this precipitation becoming a little bit more widespread across this corridor as these two systems sort of merge. Let's go ahead and take it into Sunday morning now. 6 o'clock Sunday morning, we've got heavy rain and thunderstorms from Wisconsin, across the central Corn Belt here, eastern portions of Iowa. Much of Illinois will be seeing that Sunday rain, Indiana, much of Missouri, and then getting down into Arkansas and Louisiana. Let's take it all the way to the end of this forecast run, which will be 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. We're now starting to dry out back toward the west. Maybe you should draw that in the orange color there. Meanwhile, the precipitation is continuing to push from west to east. We'll go ahead and look at the weekend's worth of precipitation. So all the way through Sunday evening, as we get to 7 p.m. on Sunday evening, total forecast precipitation heaviest off to the south, where we got the red shading across Oklahoma and Arkansas. That's where we're seeing 2+ inches of rain. As we look across this corridor, though, of portions of, let's call it Minnesota, northern Iowa, Wisconsin, down into Illinois, Indiana, and the rest of the eastern Corn Belt here, southern Michigan and Ohio. That's what we're talking about, maybe 1 to 2 inches of precipitation, 1 to 2 inches of rain possible across the western high plains here, across parts of South Dakota, western Nebraska, and far northwest Kansas, northeast Colorado as well. In between that, portions of eastern Nebraska, kind of getting into the Missouri Valley, Missouri River Valley here, talking about maybe a half an inch to an inch. So About the only dry spot that you're going to find over the weekend is going to be heading up toward the Canadian border. Northern North Dakota and northern Minnesota probably going to stay dry, but just about everyone at least getting a little precipitation. And then as you head off toward, eastern portions here, probably talking about a little bit more in the way of excess precipitation. We do have to talk about the chance for some severe weather, although it continues to be a widespread low risk today until you head off to the northeast, where we've got an enhanced risk of severe storms across northern portions of Pennsylvania, New York, and then getting into New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, right exactly where we expect the severe weather to be this time of year, right? Absolutely not. It's been a very funky spring as we talk about the lack of tornadoes across Tornado Alley here and what would be the climatological peak of severe weather season in that region, but as it is, a slight risk of some storms producing some hail across northeastern Colorado today, southwestern Nebraska. As we head into the day tomorrow, this would be Saturday, we've got a marginal risk across portions of Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois where you see the green shading. That'd be just the chance for some of those afternoon and evening storms to produce some hail and maybe some gusty winds. And then as we head into the day on Sunday, that marginal risk shifts across the eastern Corn Belt, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, northern portions of Kentucky. Again, really talking about predominantly the risk of maybe some hail and some gusty winds with those storms. Not looking at a big extensive tornado threat here. And also clearly with the marginal risk here, that is level 1 out of 5, not talking about much in the way of widespread severe weather either. Now let's look at the jet stream pattern and where we're headed into next week, because it is a bizarre pattern and it's going to continue to keep a relative lack of severe weather across the central part of the country. So as we started off on Friday, heading into Saturday, here's the little storm system that triggers the rain across the high plains and then eventually into portions of Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois. Here's the southern little ripple here that's creating rain and thunderstorms across the southern plains and the southern U.S. Now we see them kind of not merge, but they're going to kind of move west to east together here, kind of riding along together as we head into Monday and Tuesday. And now this shuts down the wet pattern. We talked about the total precipitation amounts as we head through the weekend. As we get into Monday and Tuesday, we've got a big ridge across the central part of the country. That's going to lead to a warm up across the high plains. But as we take it a little bit further, watch what happens to this trough across the east. We're going to see it develop into a cutoff low, where it kind of breaks off from the upper level flow and just kind of is going to hang out here. And so what this is going to do is, one, instead of letting this trough across the western U.S. eject across the central plains, perhaps bringing more active weather and severe weather across the middle part of the country, it's going to instead be kind of deflected up and over the top of that. So we may see the risk for some severe storms across portions of the Dakotas as we get into early to mid next week. We'll have to talk about. We're also going to be seeing a big warm up across this region with that ridge, but with the cutoff low hanging out across the east, we're actually going to see a cool down across the eastern part of the Corn Belt. Now, we're not going back toward any sort of big chill like we saw the first week of May, but it's going to be a little bit on the cooler side, but continue to be on the dry side because, again, we're taking this main upper level trough and we're deflecting it well off to the north instead of letting it kind of just push across the central part of the country, tapping into the Gulf. That would be a very different situation here. We'd be talking about severe weather, heavy rain, but with this low getting cut off across the eastern U.S., that's going to make some big changes across the middle part of the country and kind of protect us from another round of heavy rain and thunderstorms. Now, as we take it out into next weekend, now getting into May 23rd and 24th, we lose some confidence here. We'll have to kind of just diagnose where we're headed as we get into early next week. But it does look like maybe once this cutoff low begins to move out, perhaps we get a little bit of at least weak southwest flow across the middle part of the country. So it could be that maybe we get a 7-day break or so here, and then maybe as we head into late May into early June, resuming a more active pattern here. But that is going to be something we'll talk about on Monday morning with the Ag Forecast video, and then Wednesday with the long-range technical analysis. We've got pretty good confidence between the GFS and the European model with this cutoff low existing. We've got the European on the left, the GFS on the right. The GFS is a little bit more perfect with its circle here. This is just a hilarious looking surface map to me. I just, with this low kind of sitting here spinning away. And again, you can see the trough that would otherwise eject across the central part of the country, bringing severe weather and heavy rain to the central plains into the Midwest. It's going to be deflected up and off to the north. So let's look at the temperature trends then as we head through the next 7 to 10 days. Again, with the current look, we've got warmth off to the east, a little bit cooler as you head toward the central part of the country. Again, this is largely because of the rain and thunderstorms in the area. Same thing as you head off to the south. So let's take it into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now we're seeing that trough beginning to move from west to east and beginning to cut off across the eastern half of the country. So again, looking for that cool down here across the eastern half of the Corn Belt. Iowa and Missouri and Kansas is going to be kind of the transition though zone. And then as we look at Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, the boot heel of Missouri, that's where you're going to be feeling a little bit more of that cooler weather as we head into the mid and late part of next week. And again, you can see the warmth kind of being forced into a little ribbon here across the central high plains as we go into middle to late next week. So let's go ahead and we'll look at the precipitation trends then. Here's the next 5 days, and I'm going to hit an animation on this, and it's going to take us into the 5 to 10 day period. And I want you to notice the trend here. Much drier as we get into next week. You do see the chance for some showers and storms across the high plains, across the Dakotas. That's with that storm system that is ejecting and lifting, being kind of deflected off to the north. And so maybe the chance for some severe weather across the Dakotas as we get into next week, but across an area that really needs a dry spell, it does look like we will get that as we head into next week. So here's the days 4 through 10 precipitation anomaly from the GFS ensemble. So this is going to take us from May 19th through the 25th. And again, you see this big dry corridor right here through the central part of the country. And this is an area that badly needs some dry weather as we head into next week. One more look at it. We'll take a look at the precipitation forecast from the European model. We can time out the storm system exit. We're looking at things on Friday. Again, we've got this big area of dying thunderstorms right across this region. As we head into the afternoon and evening, those storms will continue to move off to the south. Let's take it into Saturday morning. Again, we've got our two systems, the one across the high plains, one across the south. That'll have showers and storms in progress across that region across those regions as we wake up on Saturday morning. And then we've got the chance for some light showers here across the Ohio River Valley on Saturday morning as well. Taking it into Saturday afternoon and evening. Again, we've still got our two systems here looking for showers and storms developing across the middle section of the country. A low risk, some of those storms could be severe here across Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois. Some gusty winds and hail possible in that area. We'll take it into Sunday morning now. This will be sunrise on Sunday morning. You can see the rain now moving from west to east, crossing the Mississippi Valley as we head into Sunday, and then getting into Monday morning. Then we'll take it into Monday night into Tuesday morning. This is when we finally see that precipitation exiting the Corn Belt. We see a big dry spell then across the middle section of the country. Here is the storm system lifting through the Dakotas. We'll see some of those showers and storms developing in that region as we get into, this would be a Wednesday night getting into Thursday. So even the Dakotas getting a dry spell all the way through Wednesday as we watch this storm system be deflected off to the north. It's going to bring some rain to the Canadian Prairie, but again, look at this. By the time we get to Thursday and Friday, we're still dry across the midsection of the country. It's not until we get to maybe May 24th and 25th, and this is where I was telling you we've got some lower confidence, but maybe resuming southwest flow across the midsection of the country. But let's talk about that on Monday and Wednesday of next week, and for now, just understand that we've got a big dry spell for many across the Corn Belt. High temperatures for the next few days today, 70s, 60s for many. As we look at the highs on Saturday, again, lots of rain across this area. That's going to keep things a bit cooler. Watching the rain move from west to east, keeping cooler temperatures moving from west to east as well as we head into Monday and then Tuesday. Not so bad. Highs in the 60s and 70s. Again, nothing like what we saw in the first week of May. And then a lot of that warmth with that trough being kind of lifted across this region. Again, we've got big ridging in the jet stream, 80s to near 90s across the high plains on Tuesday afternoon. And with the cooler weather, we are not talking about frost risks across the Corn Belt. We'll be in the 40s and 50s tomorrow morning. Sunday morning, lows in the 60s across the eastern Corn Belt, 40s back towards the high plains. And here's a look at those Monday morning high temperatures as we wake up with 40s and 50s being the coolest readings across the midsection of the country. Have a great day, a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Monday morning.